Yeah. Are you nervous at all? Are you nervous?
I'm nervous for the launch of the season just because it would be so us just to not do what we said we were going to do. I mean, all right, and at the end of this episode, Wes is gonna rap, no rap, and then we're like, but we are switching up our thing, and then we just come back into the same thing. Like, I uh I don't know how this is going to go. I'm fine regardless of how it turns out, but I'm not very like I'm just like base level nervous as to what it's going to be, you know?
Well, and I think that's the premise of it, right? Too is we were talking about how things aren't going to change that much from the listener's perspective, and how it was mostly going to be about it was going to be a continuation of what we've been doing the last few episodes, and not necessarily this whole brand spanking new concept of a podcast.
Yeah.
So don't be nervous. It's okay. I'll hold your hand through it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Through
hell
it.
yeah. I'm just choked up.
And on that note, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my good, beautiful people and listeners. It is Saturday. Hold on, because I'm looking at the future. It is Saturday, January 22nd, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Life Midwest podcast. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kevin Palmer. That is Wes Shirley.
Yay, season 2. We've made it.
He's not nervous at all. Wes, it's great to be back, man. How the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing just swell. How are you?
I'm great, specifically because I don't think I've ever heard you applaud before, and so I feel like that's a first, and I was here to experience that.
This is a big milestone. We've done a podcast for, like, if we're not counting the time we haven't done a podcast, like a whole year.
Right, and today we're going to spend time talking about what we've been doing besides scratching our asses for the last 2 months, which, based on what I know and based on what you know, I think we're going to end up explaining that hasn't really been the case the last 2 months.
Right, and our base level of ass scratching, is pretty high as it is. So, like, you got to do other
It's pretty
stuff.
goddamn high. Oh man, yeah. So for those who haven't listened to the last episode, you may want to go ahead and do that, or if you just want to get the 45-second version of it now. Today is going to be the mark of something a little bit different, more of a continuation of what we started to do towards the end of season 1, the last 4 or 5, maybe even 6 episodes, I would say. As far as talking about current events or things that are kind of in the happening now and talking about them, kind of like how late night talk shows do it, but we're just not as funny. So I don't want to compare ourselves to anybody out there, because then we're just going to be setting the expectations way too high, and I know that's just going to give Wes all kinds of anxiety.
That's true. I'm an underachiever, so when we compare ourselves to, like, the pros, the overachievers, it's like, oh shit, this is real, and I'm not.
These people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars producing each episode, if not millions, and we're just here with 2 microphones, a website acting as our median, and a little bit of Adobe and a little bit of a audio program that you haven't heard of that I can't really sponsor. So Adobe's not our sponsor either. So I don't know why I said Adobe, but it's fine.
Generic production suite of sorts.
Absolutely. Yes. Did you hear that squeak in the background, by the way?
A squeak? I don't.
Yeah, like a squeak, like a yelp.
The listeners might, but I have you turned down so you don't bleed through on my mic.
Okay, got it. Okay. That's going to be one of the things that we covered today, is that yelp that you might have heard, but I don't want to go first. I'm going to make Wes go first. Talk to me about what's been new since the last episode. I mean, you've done a lot of traveling. You've done a lot of sightseeing and reflection and poem writing and regular writing and
Yeah, I visited a really large mirror and did just a heckload of reflecting. In all seriousness, I did end up taking that trip to Thailand, and it was awesome. Highly recommend. Maybe not during COVID. I don't even think they're really encouraging people to come at this point, or actively discouraging, or rather, because we always have COVID these days, and Omicron was a thing right after I got in. So I snuck in a bit and enjoyed the hell out of it while I was there. Some very important catching up and time spending with my fiance, who ideally, assuming everything goes smoothly, should be here in the next few months at the latest. I really hope. But went there, met her family. Her family's great. I think they like me, and that's important. And other than that, I've been working on the side and planning out the podcast in some manner. Not gonna lie and say I didn't cram right before we started recording, but there was definitely some time spent on that. And I'm approaching a year at my job, and this is a year with the podcast, and I feel accomplished from last year.
talk to me a little bit more about that. I know that's the things that you've done in the last couple of months have been really, really great. And big things that you've been talking about doing, and you went out and achieved those, and was able to spend time with Yui and her family. But what other milestones aside from camping outside of Best Buy for 17 hours for an RTX 3070 are you proud of from 2021?
So, I think camping outside for the 3070 was actually a big point and like almost a turning point in how I figured I would handle technology, how I would handle playing with technology, maybe even making a career out of it. So we sat out there, got that 3070, and I couldn't just leave a 3070 be a 3070. It needed friends, it needed a home. So Kevin helped me build a mining rig, which I dabbled with. I live in an apartment, and I don't want to be responsible if like the rig malfunctions, or like it burns down the whole apartment complex. So I just got weirded out by it all. Ended up trading it for just an amazing computer. It took a bit to get set up because I'm not smart. Um, don't forget thermal paste, guys and gals. Do not forget thermal
Oh
paste.
no.
But I now have a pretty powerful computer. I use that computer to build our visual podcast on YouTube.
Let me just cut in here and say that Kevin is beyond excited for.
Have you seen it now that it's full res?
I've seen it now that it's full res, and it's really awesome. I just, the amount of productivity that it's going to take is, it's okay. I'm not here to bitch. It's okay. Continue.
So there's going to be a little bit more work for Kevin or myself or both of us, depending on how we want to democratize that. If it ends up being a hassle, I'll gladly take it over, because I think that the podcast, the visual podcast, looks cool. It's not a great substitution for like us not being on it, but it's much better than it was.
I think it's spectacular, honestly. I really do enjoy it.
There are definitely some management concerns, though. It is going to produce more work, unfortunately. I don't know how much on your end, because I know you don't actually use our generic software to do our generic production suite to do your audio recording slash producing. But when I used that, it ended up being pretty good. I don't think I would invest more than like maybe an extra 10 to 15 minutes per podcast.
Okay. Good to know. Well, we're gonna find out here, because over the next couple of days, as I put everything together, we're gonna find out pretty quickly. But we'll figure it out. I ain't scared.
That's the spirit. This is season 2.
Yeah. So that was your turning point, huh? Sitting out in the cold, and I think at one point briefly raining night in Toledo, Ohio, for a graphics card. That was your turning point for the year?
I think so. I dived into something I was scared to do previously. I had an in with it. That would be you. You invited me in, and I'm like, well, shit, I might as well learn something. So that was really cool. I still don't know as much as I would like to know, but I am much more comfortable with different hardwares and different configurations you can do with computers. I think that sparked some bit of, I don't know what the right word would be. Like, I'm more confident in such a task that I always aspired to do. And now I just feel like I can conquer more. I can work even more above that. Next time a really cool opportunity arises, I think I won't hesitate because of realistically how smoothly this one has gone.
That's awesome, dude. That's really cool. And I hope that you won't be afraid to run the risk of burning down your apartment complex in the future. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll wait till I have my own home to burn down. I don't need like a manslaughter charge. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
Not burn down my apartment.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So, and you know, and you made some cryptocurrency in the process, right? So, you know, there's all's well that ends well.
I did. That came in clutch after taking a very short notice trip to Thailand. It's not cheap. So getting that cryptocurrency, and it was regular. Had I have not been afraid of burning down the house, it's like extra $400 a month, basically, even after energy. It's nothing to laugh at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't recommend go out and do it if you don't have the right situation. And I don't know how the market's looking in the future. I know they're doing proof of stake here shortly with Ethereum.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wishy-washy time to throw yourself into it, just because with Ethereum changing. Ethereum is the cryptocurrency that we're talking about, for those who don't know, and that's making kind of a fundamental change here this year at some point. It's not confirmed when, but at some point this year it's going to make a very fundamental change that's going to affect how its worth is determined, and nobody really knows what that's going to cause it to do. So if you're already in it, most people are staying in it. Yeah, I wouldn't jump in right now. I think we'll probably do an episode on it as once we get like a confirmed date, because I do want to talk about this a little bit more, because cryptocurrency is becoming such a relevant thing, even now with the markets being a little bit down, and with it being the uncertainty of what's going to happen with Ethereum and all of that. So, but I do want to talk about it more. I'll probably just wait until we have some more info on when that fundamental change that I keep mentioning is going to happen. So, in the meantime, though, Wes, I appreciate that you're able to dabble into it with some courage and learn some things, and maybe not so much the thermal paste part, but we'll figure shit out eventually.
You just gotta have that stuff around. Don't let it run out.
Don't let it run out. It's like toilet paper. Don't let it run out. Even if you don't know what it does. I do want to hear a little bit more about Thailand, because it's a country I haven't been to. I consider myself a bit of a traveler. I've been to many, I've been to many countries. Thailand is not one of them. So aside from her family, her brothers, you mentioned that to me that her brothers were always taking you out to eat and all this other shit, right?
Yeah, so her brother, it's her older brother, and he actually studied at the Cleveland Clinic for his residency. So he's familiar with the area. He was able to kind of like talk about places I've been, which was really cool. She's really family oriented. She has a nephew and a couple of nieces. She's close with most of her family, and I got invited into that, and that was really cool. They were really welcoming, really accepting of me. I felt like a complete dingus at all points because I don't speak their language one bit, but they speak mine just fine. And you're meeting a bunch of new people. I have a bit of social anxiety as it is. You don't know if they're just like putting up with you and putting on a nice smile, or if they genuinely like you, but I kind of got a vibe that they genuinely liked me. I hope I'm not off. But it was just really nice to be there. And as far as the country goes, I can't say that it's as far as like infrastructure goes, any less developed than the US. But it's a common thing to hear there, at least I did among the people I was around, that Thailand's still a developing country. And there are like backwoods areas. They have a lot of farmland. Bangkok, which is hot, crowded, in like a really urban area, going down to Krabi, which is tropical kind of getaway resort. And then we went up to Chiang Mai for most of the time, which is where she and her family lived. and the weather was comparable to here in Ohio, like in early spring or late spring, early summer. Um, I was there in December though, so that's like what their December looks like. And it's kind of rural. There's like they don't really have tall buildings. I guess there's some type of ordinance where they can't have like skyscrapers, but there were a few buildings that are maybe like 10 to 20 stories. Um, and it's spread out, and the whole area, which is pretty large, probably greater Toledo metropolitan size, only has like 111,000 people or something like that.
Hmm.
So it was crowded in places, but it was plenty accessible, and a lot of scenery everywhere, a lot of tourist places, a lot of tourists. It was middle of COVID. I guess this was before Omicron, though. Well, all the people who were there got there before Omicron. But just like tons of tourists. There was parts where it was only tourists that you would see, just like a bunch of people that could be me or anyone else from the US or Europe or wherever. And overall, it was great. Um, I got her nephew into collecting Pokemon cards. I saw that he liked Pokemon cards, and I've been into trading card games pretty much since like Pokemon came out when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Or I guess it came out before that, but I don't think I know about it until I was like 7 or 8.
I think it was 96. I'll look for you.
For sure. I was young. This was like, I remember my first Pokemon card within some of my first memories. So I got him into that, and turns out Thai Pokemon cards are super cool. We have like a yellow border here that just kind of looks like mustard, if anyone's familiar with Pokemon in the trading card game. And they have a silver border, and the foil or the like shiny cards have shiny silver borders. So, and it's just a nicer looking card. And I think only like 60, 70 million people speak Thai. So the cards in that language would be rare on a global scale. So I picked up a few, got him into collecting slash, I don't know if he plays it at all. I don't read Thai, so like I wasn't going to help him play any.
You were just gonna start the fire and then walk away, essentially.
Not walk away, but yeah, essentially. I flew away.
You didn't walk, you flew. It was October of 96, by the way.
Was that in the US or was that in Japan?
That was in Japan. But it was within a minuscule amount of time. It was in the US. Was initially released by a third party, Wizards of the Coast, you might recall.
They make Magic the Gathering, by the way, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Before Nintendo decided to take over the publishing. This is PokemonCards.com/au/history Pokemon cards, for anyone who's curious. So yeah, 96. And then the first video game came out on the Game Boy Color in 1998, the Pokemon trading card game. So there you have it, folks. There's your history lesson.
Today on the Life Midwest podcast, Pokemon cards.
You know what would be really great, Wes, is if you did a blog post with some photos from Thailand. You think you could do that for the listeners?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't think that would be very difficult. I'm not sure anyone wants to look at my photos from Thailand, though.
Don't you have a nice camera phone?
I do. I do happen to have a phone with a camera that is somewhat nice.
Yeah, I like I said, you have a phone that takes nice pictures. You took nice pictures from what I saw. You may as well share them with the rest of the world. That's all I'm trying to say.
For sure, I can do that. I think before this episode airs, I could probably do something like that.
That would be fantastic. Hey, speaking of this episode, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. But before we let you go, just want to let you know, if all you cared about was what Wes was up to, then you're at the end of the episode and we'll see you next week. Otherwise, if you care about what I've been doing, stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Life Midwest podcast, the only podcast that takes 2 months off, comes back, and has no new one-liners for you. I'm your host, Kevin Palmer. That's Wes Shirley. And if you're looking for ways to support us, we do have a PayPal set up that's live because it does cost money to run the show. PayPal.me/TheLifeMidwest. All one word, no spaces, none of that. You can also support us for free in several different ways. Reach out to us through any of our social media platforms at The Life Midwest. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also give us a rating or review through iTunes. We appreciate that as well. And of course, we are always checking our email, except for today, at support@thelifemidwest.com. Wes also really prefers DMs because he's just a shy guy. So I'm just kidding. You don't have to. Don't. Don't
you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Wes, how we feeling? Good to be back?
Yeah, no, this is excellent. It is a new year, and we have a whole year of podcasts to record.
Absolutely, and it's going to be great. This week, obviously, a little bit unconventional. We're not really talking about, the things that we said we'd be talking about as far as current events or current happenings, but, we figured that maybe you cared a little bit about what we've been up to, and we're going to have a blog post live, hopefully by the time this goes live, of some pictures from Thailand. Not that I was there, but Wes was, and he had a grand old time, and he wants to share that experience with you, so.
I'm willing to share that experience. I think you wanted me to. So, Kevin, what have you been up to? Did that sound forced?
It sounds extremely forced.
I don't.
So forced, I'm going to leave it in there, actually.
I missed my chance when I made the joke. Like, I could have acted naturally, but I'm like, no, I got to get this joke in. But what have you been up to? Or how have you been? Or whatever the question was.
I've been great. Definitely been up to a lot of things. I just thought of it as the response just crossed my mind as I was saying this. I've been up to a lot of white people things.
Yeah. How so?
I just, and it's not necessarily like a white people thing or like a white person thing. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm just going through that cycle of life where like you grow up, you have a career, you retire to Florida and die. I'm pretty sure I'm paraphrasing a card from Cards Against Humanity when I say that. But my point is that I feel like the last 2 months I've kind of like been on that path, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I obviously enjoy it. I've chosen this path. I've decided to do these things that I'm about to talk about, but it feels scripted almost right now, where you're just kind of going through these motions and these life changes that most people normally go through. So let's see, last 2 months. Well, the first thing, aside from, after the last episode aired, was Ashley and I went down to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It is a trip that we normally take with her brother and wife, and usually there's some other friends of theirs that accompany or will, stay partial time like we did. And it was while that we were down there, I proposed to Ashley.
Say what?
I didn't know what kind of reaction I was going to be getting from you when I said that, because you already knew, obviously. But, how did it happen, right? That's probably the question that Wes would probably ask if he was interviewing me.
So how did it happen?
I'm glad you asked, because I know I think you know the story, actually. Do you know the story? Did I tell you the story?
I believe so. I could definitely listen to it again, though. We're not forcing anything here. This is a totally normal conversation happening live in front of our audience.
I'm going to tell you what one of my favorite listeners says to me all the time when I make stupid jokes, and he's going to know exactly who he is when I say it. Eat shit, Wes. So we go to this bridge, right? This it's called the Sky Bridge. It is the, hold on, I want to get my facts straight here.
Do you need like a ruler?
It is the longest suspension bridge in North America. I can never remember whether it's North America or the world. It is the longest suspension bridge in North America. And so we went up there. You take a ski lift to go up there. And for those who don't know, and I don't know if I've even mentioned it on the show before, I am deathly afraid of heights. 6'3", can't stand heights, whatever. And so we go up there, and this is planned the entire time, by the way. We go up there. Everybody who was there was in on it, and including her parents. They FaceTimed. Her brother FaceTimed their parents so that they were there for it. We go up there, and her brother's like, "Well, why don't you take some photos before you guys walk across?" And so I walk towards the bridge and look out and pretend to just be complete. And it really wasn't that bad, right? Like, I'm afraid of heights, but like, this really wasn't that bad. I looked across and I was like, oh, this is manageable. Like, I'm going to have to bring out some Hollywood acting here. And I saw it, and all of a sudden I just kind of like dropped to my knees and was like, oh God, oh no, I can't do this. Like, pretending, right? And Ashley grabs my shoulder, and I hear her go, no, not here. We can't do this here. And so I was like, fine, help me up. And I had the box with the ring in it, obviously. I had the box in my right hand. It was kind of like cupped in my hand. And so when I reached out for her to help me up, she obviously felt the box and then brought her hands back into the thing that all girls do. They cover their mouth with both hands, right? When they realize what's happening. And so I get off of one knee and stay down on one knee, and there I go. I proposed to her, and she said yes. And there was a crowd, and obviously there was some applauding and some cheering. It was really a great moment. And yeah, thank you, Wes, for the well, what do they call that? The
golf clap?
No. When you're fucking you're watching a show, it's like a crime show, and they like redo it. Reenact.
Mm-hmm.
Reenact. That was a great reenactment. Yeah. So anyway, that happened. And so on our way home from Gatlinburg, because we drove. It's really not that bad of a drive, right? Especially if you leave early enough. Ashley starts talking about another dog. She starts talking about puppies. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm happy with Mac. I love Mac, and for me, he was enough. And I went through the puppy phase, and I had my headaches and I had my annoyances, and I was happy to be through those. The growing pains of getting a puppy and training them and correcting them and dealing with them pissing and shitting everywhere, and I was just kind of over it. But Ashley wasn't. And so a few days after we got back, we drove 3.5 hours to the east side of Ohio. It was about 45 minutes off the highway. It was that part of eastern Ohio, if you know what I'm saying. And we picked up our second golden retriever puppy, and his name is Tosh.
It's cool that you have two dogs named Tosh and Mac.
We prefer to say Mac and Tosh because then it kind of makes more sense.
Is it because Mac came first because he's a bigger dog?
No, it's like the computer. Mac and Tosh.
Oh, okay. Because you like Apple. Got it.
No, it's Ashley and I met at Apple. Like she was a customer. She was my customer. She was somebody that I helped when she had issues with her phone and her computer. And obviously I couldn't use any of her personal information to track her down. So she found me on social media. We went to dinner 3 days later, and the rest is history. But yeah, for those who don't know, there's my life story with my significant other. How we have two dogs together, why they're named Mac and Tosh, and how I have no reason to be fired from my current job for anyone who may be listening in corporate. And and we're engaged. We are planning on 2023, late 2023 as the wedding. So I think it's going to be a very, very, very small wedding, because the venue that we're looking at is pretty restricted as far as how many guests it can hold. But Ashley, as a culinary major, cares very much about the food. So we're trying to cram that guest list as best we can. But I just have a feeling that people aren't going to be happy. You know what I mean? There's always that anxiety when you're getting married and you're planning a wedding, and you don't want to piss anybody off. You don't want anyone to take it personal if they don't get invited, or if they do get invited, or if they get invited and then they tell you no. I don't know. You get what I'm saying, Wes?
Yeah. You don't want to make anyone think that you don't like them or don't want to invite them, and any other number of things that could be stressful planning a major event like that.
Right. Like, I just don't want them to think that I don't like them enough to invite them to my wedding. Like, there's a ton of people that I would, even if I only talk to them a couple of times a year. I still consider those people friends, and would want them to be a part of my big day. And so it's just something to think about. But I'm glad I have a lot of time to think about it. That's for sure. So, but aside from Gatlinburg, we got back. We went to a few weeks later. We went to Disney World and Universal Studios down in Florida with Ashley's family for Christmas. We were there for 9 days, I believe, 10 days, 9 days, 10 days, and I got to go to Harry Potter World. And let me tell you, as somebody who grew up on the books, obviously watched all the movies, Emma Watson was a celebrity crush growing up, the whole 9 yards. It was really, really something special to be able to say that I've gone and done that now.
That really is some white people shit. Like you went on a Christmas trip, then you went on a Disney trip. You got a dog and named it Tosh to go with Macintosh. I don't know though. I think people just do everything though, right? Like,
I guess I don't know. It's just when you sum it all up, I got engaged. I got another golden retriever dog. It's a 2-part name between the two dogs, and then we took and then I was a part of a family vacation to Disney World for Christmas. I mean, it's just how, aside from a casserole somehow playing a role, like, how much whiter can it get?
Was there snow?
No, there wasn't any snow.
Oh, that's because you went south. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been up to, aside from banging my head and over the current courses that I'm doing in school, and just ready to get back to work on the podcast on a weekly basis and share life with all of you guys and talk about life with all of you guys as we go forward here. It is called the Life Midwest, so that's pretty much all I got on my chopping block, man. So you got anything else to add on your end?
I've been meaning to catch up on how classes have been for you. You're like halfway through now at this point, aren't you?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, if I'll be done in this year. I don't know exactly when this year, but it'll be towards the end of this year. I'll be done with the associate part of things. So I'm not. For those who don't know, I'm not going straight from my bachelor. Like, I am going straight from my bachelor's, but I do land my associates kind of in the interim, even though I'm not stopping. So that'll be kind of nice to have something to kind of hold on to and put on the resume in the meantime. But right now, very, very, very boring class paired with a very challenging class. I was the dumb kid in high school when it came to sciences. I took all of the dumb science class. I was in environmental science in my senior year. And most people who take environmental science their senior year just aren't that keen on science. It's just kind of how it goes. So taking physics right now is just a grand old time, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. I dropped out of physics in high school. I find that type of math very frustrating. I like physics concepts and like theories around it. I love the idea of like how the universe works. I do not want to do the math.
Yeah. Like, it'd be nice to just kind of like talk about it and be like, wow, it's pretty amazing what you can figure out with that shit.
You'll definitely take that with you though. Like, that's important where you're going, doing all your computer stuffs.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's just right now, I just want to split my brain in half every time I think about doing it. So, But hey, for the rest of you who aren't having to deal with physics, good for you.
I'll go on and pat myself on the back for that. That was a job well done.
Happy for you. Genuinely happy for anyone who doesn't have to deal with physics, who doesn't want to, I should say.
Is it weird that I want to? So like, I could not realistically take a physics class at the math level I was at in high school, but like I find that a challenge these days. Like, I understand if I was in your position, I probably would not. Like, you're working a full-time job, it's probably the last thing you want to do in your goal to like just move towards your goals. And like, I think it would be massively rewarding to like just combat all the hard math that I've avoided my whole life, and like all the doors that would open.
Great. I'll give you my login info and you can start hacking away at it yourself.
You don't want to do that, my dude.
Yeah, I don't want to lose I have a 4.0 actually. So I'd hate to have someone come in and maliciously, toy with that.
I wouldn't do it maliciously. I would do it incompetently. Mean the best while I was doing it. Promise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is Wes. He means well, but just doesn't always go that well.
Try not to get bothered by him.
He likes to color outside the lines a lot.
He also eats anything he writes with, so there's that.
No, you don't.
I don't?
I don't think so. I've never seen you do it.
Have you ever seen me color outside the lines?
I just assume you do.
I don't know how to take that. I mean, thank you, but also like, what the hell?
You're just, I don't know. You've never wanted to have a boss. You've always wanted to work for yourself. And you just, I don't know. You see a set of rules and you're just kind of like, okay, how can I fuck with that? Like, that's just who you are.
All right. Yeah. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, in that context, I feel like it sounds like one. So, well, Wes, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Are we going to keep doing shout outs in season 2? Do you want to keep doing the shout outs?
Do the fans like the shout outs?
I don't know. We need some feedback on that, I guess. We'll do shout outs today. And then if we get any feedback on it, we'll go one way or the other on the shout outs.
For sure. Sounds
okay.
Good.
All right. I want to shout out physics for fucking with my life. Also want to shout out my amazing and beautiful fiance, Ashley, my little shit of a second dog, Tosh, my firstborn son, Mac, is incredible. And Wes, I want to shout out you because it's just great to be back on the air with you, buddy.
Heck yeah. I want to shout out you as well, because I don't do shit unless I'm motivated to do such. So you gave me the motivation to get the stuff done that I've got done thus far for the podcast, and you keep me honest in this part. So shout out to you for that. Shout out to all golden retrievers. I saw a golden retriever today and it was a good boy. I have yet to meet one who wasn't a good boy. I know they exist, but not in my world. And I'd like to give a shout out to all of maths. That includes physics, so there's a double shout out for them tonight. Or today, because this is Saturday morning. Yeah. Shout out for physics, but all maths, because you hard math.
You don't mean that.
I probably don't. Shout out to technology. I love technology. I'm not like someone who thinks that it's going to save us from all of our problems in the future, but gosh darn is it cool. And no shout out to mothers, because this is a new season and we no longer, I'm kidding. Of course, shout out to mothers, because you got to call your mothers. I think we take that into the second season.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Call your mom. 100% call your mom.
Call your dad too if you have that type of relationship with him. I don't know.
we're gonna start looking at merch here in the coming months. I think that's the other thing that we forgot to mention today. Just a little bit, nothing crazy. And I feel like we should have a mug that says, or maybe a shirt that on the back of it says, "Call your mom."
That's a good idea.
I'm not opposed to that.
I think we just made plans live on the air.
I think we did.
I think that's a deal.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, don't forget to stop by on any of our socials at The Life Midwest, or email us at support@thelifemidwest.com. We really do appreciate hearing from you. Give us some feedback as to whether you want the shout outs or not. Is it just a waste of time on your Saturday? Do you have more important things to do to listen to us shouting out physics and all this other bullshit? Or do you like the bullshit? Maybe that's what you're here for. Maybe you come for Kevin and Wes, but you stay for the bullshit. I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because you haven't told me. So go ahead and tell me. Hey, until then, we will see you guys next week. Call your mom. Take care. Have a good one, folks. See you later.
Deuces.